beautiful. We are back, and it's time for us to now look through the newspapers today. And the very first top story here, starting us off, that is the Daily Nation. I see Ruto's major purge of Gachagua allies. So the shake-up scheduled for this week affects 14 members of parliament serving in influential National Assembly committee leadership positions who are viewed as sympathetic to ousted Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. The changes are also informed by other recent political developments, including the co-option of Raila Odinga's party members to cabinet. This is a story on pages 4 and also 5. And some of them include Ndidi Nyoro. We have Gathoni Wamuchomba, James Gakuya, Musau Vincent, Nimrod Mbai, Wanjiku Mohia, Kareke Mbiuki, and Joanna Ngeno, who is the Housing, Urban Development and Public Works Committee. But you can look at that story that is on pages 4 and also 5. And I see here, still on the top page, a story that I think we have quite had an interest on social media. Anglican Church backs Catholic bishops scathing attack on Ruto. So ACK Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit says calling church leaders names is misleading, erroneous and false. This is a story on page 8. And still on the top story, counties to shut down in 30 days. Governors say. I see county chiefs have threatened to seize all operations in the counties should the two houses of parliament fail to agree on the amount of money to be disbursed to devolved units. This is a story on page 12. And I also see here on the back page today, varsities to stop offering diplomas under the new law. So House team says that they are overlapping roles of universities and TVET institutions. And it goes ahead to tell us that if the University Amendment Bill number 5 of 2023 is passed by the House, it will lock universities out of a market that has been providing them with an alternative source of revenue. As most public institutions face financial challenges, universities will then be restricted to degree and postgraduate programs. So the bill also seeks to bar the Kenya Universities and College Central Placement KUCCPs from placing students in diploma and certificate courses offered by universities. So to avoid disruptions, the bill proposes that students currently enrolled in these programs be allowed to complete them. And that's on the back page today. And moving on, page 2 today is Kenya picked to lead 2 billion shillings anti-terrorism project in East Africa. And I see here that program involving communities to be implemented in Somalia, South Sudan. And this still is telling us that to effectively deal with the complex issues surrounding terrorism, insecurity, and conflict affecting the region, UNDP Resilience Hub Director Zeniu Umar said the community must be engaged at all levels. This is a story on page 2. Page 3, we have definitely some news as well on entertainment. You can look at that on page 3. Page 4, of course, is the story on Ruto moving to oust Gachagua allies from key House positions. And more on the same, I see targeted are the chairpersons of committees viewed as sympathetic to Gachagua, who was ousted last month. That is a story on page 5. And coming down to page 6, here ministers take the reins as COP29 enters a crucial stage. Remember, MPs also seeking views on tax bills amid fears of exclusion. And Kenyans apprehensive that government wants to implement proposals in the rejected Finance Bill 2024. And moving on today, the DN2 this morning, DN2 Healthy Nation, born out of rape. Very, very sad story here, but also sheds light on the things on the ground that are happening and what it even means to bring a child forth through this. And Catherine shares the pain and trauma of raising a child she never wanted, a product of sexual assault. And one thing that I do believe is that it may have been a mistake that led to the conception of the child, but then no child is a mistake. mistake when it comes to God, because God indeed can raise that child to be whomever he pleases, and it could be the best thing that ever happened to this woman. So definitely I believe in that very, very strongly, that the mistake may have been done at the beginning, but then no child is a mistake. So raising a child I never wanted, this is a product of sexual assault. And this is Catherine sharing a story after she was gang raped during the 2007 post-election violence. Her child, now a teenager, remains a living reminder of the atrocities she went through. Their relationship is strained, defined by poverty and the woman's unresolved grief. Indeed, we wish healing and pray for healing over this woman, so that she will indeed see the beauty even from the ashes. And even to all women who struggle with this very thing, just know that our heart goes to you as well. And page 7 here of the DN2 Health Nation, I see why your vitamin D levels may be low despite sun exposure. Look at that story that is on page 7. And moving on now to the sports page today, I see page here 32 saying Western Jaguars now eye continental glory. Elated coach Malungu attributes his team's success in men's league to player development. Page 33, why Kenya has been reduced to playing formality matches. So 5-time champions Cameroon and Zimbabwe clinched the 2 qualification slot from Group J. And Agent Ferrati, who is the Harambee Stars coach, he is saying there is only 1 flight per day from Polokwane to Johannesburg. If we were to play in Uganda, Namibia would arrive earlier than us. This is a story on page 33. Look at it. Therein, and page 34, ailing Dutch coach Jan Koop's is owed millions but is living on borrowed time. This is a story on page 34. So at 83, Koop's, who came to Kenya in 2009, that is on a coaching expedition after falling in love with the country in a previous visit, has festering wounds on the ankle and shin of his right foot and has considerably slowed down. Having suffered heart failure in the past, doctors fitted a pacemaker to the right of his heart in 2004 to stabilize his heartbeat and pulse rate. It was meant to be replaced after 6 years, but he has stayed with the device for 20 years. AFC Leopards officials have turned a deaf ear to his request for payment of 99.7 million shillings that is actually owed to him. And that's a story on the Daily Nation. That's on the sports page. And now moving on to the Standard. I see a story here today on the top page is Save Us from Israel Bonds, and Kenyans living in Lebanon are calling on the government to intervene and rescue them from the wrath of Israel bombardment, as their lives have been turned upside down since the invasion began last month. This is a story on page 8. And we pray that indeed they will be safe and sound, and that proper care will be taken to keep them safe. And Noreen Washu saying, I feel terrible. Everyone has left. I have no passport, no money, and no way out. I need to leave this place. I don't want to go back home in a casket. Who will take care of my 3 children back home? Oh, we wish Noreen Washu all the very best, and we pray that she'll be reconnected to her family. And Claire Mogire also saying, my family is living in distress and I don't know what to do right now. My boss still owes me some arrears. This is Claire Mogire also praying with her as well. Zamzam Mohammed, Mombasa woman rep, saying this is a huge crisis building. Every country is taking it seriously, but I don't think we are moving at the right speed. These are the lives of poor Kenyans we are talking about here, and definitely care needs to be taken and precautions to keep them in safety. And still on the top page here, covered is church finds its voice after 2 decades. So we see Anglican leadership yesterday joined Catholic bishops in condemning the government over issues of governance and corruption, marking a return to a critical voice from the church that has been largely absent in recent years. And I think what is now trending is a huge chunk of money that was directed their way, but they also rejected it. And so this has put the government on a tight spot. And I know we'll be looking at more on that. If you tune in to Hope FM at the top of every hour, we'll be having news updates. And right here, also at Hope TV, 7 p.m. and 9 p.m., we'll be giving you updates on this particular story in detail. Do not misuse taxes. Kenyans want treasury. This is a story on page 4. Page 5, governors threatened to shut down counties. We saw that on the Daily Nation as well. And I see here grade 7 people making waves at climate talks. Beautiful. A story on page 3. I also see Mbadi cut graft to end borrowing. Story on page 26. That's the business page. G20 leaders mull Trump taxes a climate world page. That is 28. And the sports page today, Harambee in a tie. That means nothing. And on the pullout today, which is the Financial Standard, page 20 here is covering something. It's saying falling inflation, market correction, or a shrinking economy. Many Kenyans are struggling to survive despite the much touted general fall in some prices. Page 21, telco bets on MSMEs amid state regulation tax drives. This is a story on page 21. And also page 22 today, see eyes on KRA as multinationals fail tax transparency test. This is a story on page 22. And moving on to the sports page, of course, Kenya face Namibia in a tie. That means nothing. So here it's saying that Kenya were knocked out of AFCON last week on Friday after drawing with Zimbabwe. That's a story on page 40. Moving on, the sports page on page 38, athletes taking it one step at a time ahead of Iten Marathon. So the third edition of Iten International Marathon will take place on Sunday. Winners of the marathon will walk away with 1 million shillings each. And page 39 must set eyes on making comeback in Kenya Cup fold. This is a story on page 39. And moving on to the Business Daily, the top story here is Kenya seeks UN's help to tame Elon Musk's Starlink. And CSA satellites have presented a regulation puzzle. An NGO has sued regulator over Safaricom Starlink battle. And still on the top page of the Business Daily this morning, tax payers Treasury eyes 343 billion shillings in new finance bill. That's a story on page 2, well covered right there. And I also see a quote here by Ndogas S. Seiler, Charles Abuga, saying Africa has been facing several external shocks that require an effective multilateral response that has been lacking. Look at that on page 9. The back page, how to position Kenya's aviation industry as global value chain shifts. That's on page 24. And looking at the last word, you can't give kids a fighting chance if you don't give them a fighting mind. That is from Mike Tyson, definitely. But that's it for the newspaper review, the Daily Nation, the Standard, and also the Business Daily. You can grab a copy of your favorite, but you can as well tune in to Hope FM and also Hope TV, where we will be giving you news updates as they continue to come in. This helps us to know what's happening and also how to pray for this loving nation and amazing nation of ours. It is the only one. Gigi would say, hatuna substitute, ni yetu tu. So we keep praying for the nation. And I believe that the Lord indeed is working and working in a major and big way. So let us now look at the video of the day.